Fondsevent is run by investment bankers, and Morningstar's modus operandi.
John, how does the quality of a fund house impact on an individual fund's returns?
Well, it impacts two ways. One, a higher quality fund house is likely just to keep their funds alive. What you find is that a lower quality fund house will kill off funds, merge them out of existence at a very high rate. In fact, sometimes up to 60 or 70% of a fund family's funds will die over the next 10 years. And who wants to invest in a fund just to have it not be around 3 or 4 or 5 years later because the fund company decides that it shouldn't exist? So if you get a higher quality fund house, you're likely to have a fund that survives. And when it does survive, it's likely to perform better too.
And one of the things you talked about was manager compensation. What sort of manager compensation and how they get paid, what sort of structure do you think works best for fund companies?
Well, clearly managers who get compensated, managers are going to behave the way they're compensated, right? That's basic economic principles. We're going to go, as people, we go where the money is. So if you pay managers in a way that gives them an incentive for long-term performance and risk-adjusted performance, that's what they'll deliver. So we want to see managers that are paid on, say, 5-year returns and ideally risk-adjusted returns, as opposed to a 1-year performance only number or on assets under management, where they're going to be thinking about what can I do, maybe take on some risk this year to try to get my numbers up this year, or what can I do to get assets in my fund. We want them to have a long-term focus because as an investor, that's what you want. You don't care about, well, you do care a little bit about this year, but ultimately you care about 5 or 10 year or a long time frame, long horizon. That's what you want to get in your investment.
Something else that was interesting for me was managers that invest in their own funds. Why is it important for managers to invest in their own fund? How does that help the investor?
Well, when managers invest in their own funds, they're that much likelier to run them in a way that will match what you as an investor want, because the chances are that the manager wants the same thing you want, which is strong long-term return and more emphasis on long-term outcome. And we found that, in fact. We did a study and we looked at funds. We were able to measure how much money a manager has in their own funds in the U.S. because that's required information to be filed. And we found that managers that had the most amount of assets in their funds in the U.S., that's considered to be $1 million or more invested in their funds, performed the very best among a whole group of funds that were segmented by how much that money that the manager had in there.
Why is a fund's price important for investors?
Well, this is among the strongest evidence that you'll find when you study mutual funds. Across the board for all types of funds, over all time periods, lower cost funds consistently outperform higher cost funds. Of course, there are exceptions to the rule, but as with any study. But in general, this is about as strong a finding as you'll ever see.
John, thank you for these useful investing tips.
It's a pleasure being here. Thank you very much.
Run by investment bankers, and Morningstar's modus operandi.